This video is about like yes.
Yeah.
Still need to do the introduction. Hi everybody, hi, and to our panelists as well. This Timothy here. What else what else am I supposed to say other than the moderator? Teacher by profession. Teacher by profession, but currently doing ministry work. So yeah, that's about it.
Yeah. But you know, this is before the rest come in, so this is not the official info.
Of course.
Getting to know each other.
Yeah. So I mean, like what Winifred mentioned, the past few CFF, I've actually been involved as moderator before as well. I'm a friend of Kana. I think that's how it all started.
Yeah, and I believe he goes to Smota as well, right?
Well, I used to serve a ministry at Smota, and then after that, I think because the work that I do was outside, I became outside of the parish as well. So so
he left when I became the parish priest.
Yeah, just before actually. Yeah, I was involved. No lah.
So that was not the push factor, right?
No, of course not. What are you talking about?
I've heard the rumors.
So we all know about Father Clifford. How about Hedwig? Could you share a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So I am a teacher also at the Wee Kim Wee School of Communication, and so mostly I teach on the journalism track. But I think I'm on this panel mostly because I love movies.
That's great.
My husband Alan and we like watching movies, and we do it the old school way. We love going to the cinema.
Yes.
And watching the big screen, and so like movies, like reading about movies. I do teach part of a course on writing reviews, but that's not the same as being an expert. I certainly don't count myself as an expert, but like movies and watch a lot of them.
Yeah, wonderful. And that's why we like to invite panelists who love film. That's, I think, the first criteria. But also that they have a view on the issue or the topic. In the film. And of course, the more we have people who are related to the media as well, in some way, I think that is also part of our mission, because as part of Kana Film Festival, we want to share a good film, especially independent film, not those that are mainstream, because those are harder to get and actually can be just as good, sometimes if not better, than mainstream films. And also, give an opportunity for filmmakers to reach out to larger audiences beyond their own sphere. And so that's why you'll find that for most of our films, we don't, limit to geography or language. But it's really about the quality and the issues. And particularly how it relates to our faith. And so we do have some films that are a little bit more, Catholic or churchy, but majority are not so, precisely because, that we are already exposed to so much media, in our daily life, that we shouldn't just limit ourselves to the churchy or the Catholic films. And we need to know how to be more discerning when we watch all kinds of film and see how that could actually be part of our faith formation. So that's really one of the reasons why, some brave souls among us, including my friends at Kana, decided to start doing something like this. And so, like Hedwig, I'm also an old school person, but, I'm a purist. I love watching film in the cinema, and we had planned for a few this time, but because of the pandemic, we had to make certain choices. So that's why we are only. Yes.
I guess this is addressed to Timothy. How are you planning to? What does the moderator do, and are you going to ask questions to Clifford and me, or are we going to take questions from other people who have watched the movie? How's it going to go?
Okay, I mean, as in, so usually, I mean, so I don't think there's a particular fixed structure, but generally is to respond to that. But at any point in time, if either you or Father Clifford wishes to respond and jump in, right, and then please do feel free to do so, and then I will just be facilitating along the way.
Yeah, yeah. So let's give it a minute or two more. I think because the film was, just ended, and some people do join in a few minutes later, and whatever point they join, we encourage them to finish watching the film. And so we give about 5-10 minute buffer. Plus, as you know,
Sure.
when we are so caught up on, watching a film, people might need a bio break or, a drink.
Of course,
yeah?
of course,
yeah.
of course, absolutely.
So that's why.
Roughly,
and
roughly
so
what
Father
time
Clifford
are
and
we hoping?
Hedwig, please make sure you have a drink with you as well. And for the rest of you too, please, have your favorite snack or some juice or water or coffee next to you, yeah? So we'll start in a minute or two.
Sure.
Well, it looks like our audience have joined us, am I right? Is it?
Yes, yes. So it's
Yes,
good
wonderful.
crowd,
Hello.
very nice.
Hi, everyone.
Okay. So where's Father Clifford? Is he
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah.
still here? Okay, great.
Yes.
All right, great. You know why? Okay. Ash, maybe you want to do the spotlight for Father Clifford and Hedwig. But let me actually start by typically I share a few slides to set the stage, and then I'll hand it off to Timothy to take us along with this panel discussion. Okay, so for many of us, this is something we do because we love doing, and we always want to improve. So if you can, take a bit of time to give us your feedback, that would be much appreciated. So do take a screenshot here, especially those of you who have joined the panel. That would mean that you have watched the film and joined us. And so do give us your feedback on what we can do differently and better next time. Yeah. So I will also post the URL in the chat in case you can't catch this screenshot fast enough. All right. So do take a few minutes to tell us what we can do differently or better. Now, this is the unique feature about Kena Film Festival. After every film, we do our very best to bring in a religious together with one or two panelists and a moderator to have a deeper discussion about the film and the issue or the topic that the film highlights. Yeah. So that, we take it away from just entertainment, although yes, film is wonderful for entertainment, but we also want the film to speak to our faith, particularly for us here. All right. And that's why we chose films that are related to our Catholic social teachings. But of course, for many of us, even the same film can speak to us differently on many of these Catholic social teachings. But that's certainly a way for you to connect the film with the faith this way, right? And, for many of us, we also think about how we pray on a daily basis. And sometimes, we don't consider film as a means for us to pray as well. And we encourage all those who love film to also pray with film. And using the Catholic social teachings is, again, a very good framework to use to explore your faith through film. All right. So for our panel discussion today, we are very honored and, gratified that we have two very special guests here, Hedwig Alfred and Father Clifford. Yeah, and I'll let Timothy share a little bit about himself and the panelists and how we will go about having this conversation. All right, so let me stop sharing the slides now and pass the mic over to Timothy.
Hello, everyone. My name is Timothy, and I'll be the moderator for today for the post-movie screening discussion. So thank you for being here. If any of you still need to run to the loo for a short while, take a toilet break after the movie, or if you need to grab a drink, please feel free to do so, okay? So we'll just start off slow as well. Maybe just have a bit of break here and there. I mean, let's say just keep things chill and casual as we begin this panel discussion. So as I mentioned, my name is Timothy, and I'm the moderator today. I'm actually a teacher by training, but more importantly, I'm a friend of Kena, and that's why I've been involved in the work that Kena has been doing so far in terms of the Kena Film Festival as well, of the past couple at least of runs. And it's been wonderful, and so it's been such a pleasure to be involved here as well today. So together with us for our panelists, we have Hedwig Alfred, a lecturer at the Nanyang Technological School University, and so she's here to join us from her experience as well as a media and in terms of journalism, and that's where her expertise lies in. And of course, she can share a little bit more and introduce herself a bit more later as well when we get into the discussion. And I think for those who are Catholics, you would also know Father Clifford, Franciscan Friar, who has also joined us today in our discussion for this particular film, Shelter Among the Clouds. So, I mean, first thing that struck me was really how beautiful the name of this film is, right? And so to get us off, right, in terms of how we immediately respond to this particular film, maybe if you can do me a favor for all of you who have just watched this film, in the chat box, maybe at bottom icon that you see there in the chat, if you can just type in one word, a quick check-in, right? One word that stuck with you, right? That helps you describe how you either feel right now or your response to this film. So just one word, if you can just spend maybe 30 seconds to a minute, type that into the chat box so that we can have a sense of responses in terms of how you feel about this film. And in the meantime, those who need to run to the toilet or anything can also do that, yeah? So maybe let's just do that for about 30 seconds to about a minute. I see some responses coming in, so thank you very much. One word as a response to the film, or how you would describe this film. Beautiful, thank you so much. And I mean, please continue to do so if you haven't put in your word yet. And of course, no obligation as well, okay? But it's wonderful to see how varied the responses are in relation to how we feel about this film, or what this film means to us, especially immediately after watching this. And so maybe very quickly, I mean, just to introduce very quickly in terms of how we'll conduct this particular post-screening panel discussion, is that if you have any particular question that you wish to raise to the panelists, or just as a general question for us to discuss, you can actually do that in two ways. One, type the comment or the question in the chat box, just like how you have been doing that so far in terms of the one-word response. And the other way is just to unmute your mic at any point in time to then contribute whatever responses that you wish to have to this discussion. So maybe to start us off very quickly, right? To Hedwig first, maybe I can just pose a question, and then to Father Clifford. So what is that one word for you, and why that one word in terms of that response to have to this particular film?
For me, it was the scenery. I thought that the movie, I thought that was really something that was quite stunning. The use of this kind of mountain village in Albania. So I know a little bit about Albania because my son lived there or stayed there for almost a year, I think. And my husband, Alan, actually went and visited him while he was there. And so I learned for the first time that Albania has these World Heritage villages. So they have these sites that are, you know, old and kept from the 13th and 14th century and so on. And I think they picked one of these to make this film. And I think they managed to, use it very well, because it's really stunning. Even the old mosque and that wooden door, this very simple window, the cafe, and then of course the mountains and the goats and all, to me was stunning.
Thank you for that. So this, how stunning it is. Obviously, it captured your attention in terms of that beauty in the scenery, and I think that definitely is something that, in terms of the mise en scène, so in terms of what we see in the film, right, a lot of that really comes through, definitely. So, Father Clifford, what is that one word for you if you talk about immediate response to how you feel about the film?
Well, I like Hedwig, and my only knowledge of Albania is Mother Teresa. That's where she came from. Right? And it's a place, historically, I think it's a place where Christianity and Islam met and coexisted. The one word that comes for me is human issues, because I was watching throughout the entire thing, all the human issues of the dynamics of a family that is experiencing baggages of not only religion, but an aging father who wasn't too clear what he wants, illness, sickness, death, okay? So all these very human issues, which I kind of deal with in my life as a priest, were just coming out very strongly. So human issues, that will be for me.
Thank you very much, Father. So I think, just a very quick response in terms of what you just mentioned, right, in terms of the human issues. And I think that struck me as well, because, when we talk about the synopsis even of this particular film, many people talk about inter-religion, interfaith kind of a dialogue, or that is an issue that might come up as a part of social commentary in terms of this particular film. But at the same time, I think the context is within a family unit that in itself is rather complex, isn't it? So if we look at it like what you said about the human issues, how much do you think the family dynamics played a part in terms of the struggles and the conflict that they had? Or is it more of the fact that they belong to different religion and faith? How much do you think that plays a part in terms of these two sides of the coin?
If I can start.
Of course, sure.
I thought it was interesting that the movie showed at the start, they had fewer problems. When they came together because the father was sick, although there were issues about who's going to go into which room and so on, they appeared to get together, so, to be getting along. So that's why they could even eat on the same long table and so on. And things started to fall apart really quite significantly when the father died, because now there was a house and perhaps money and estate at stake. And when that issue came up, now that the father was gone, you could see the divisions, and they couldn't even eat together. And then a curtain appears between the two smaller tables. And, so I thought they were trying to show that even within a family, something like, the house or money can cause this kind of division, probably even more so than the religion, which was there throughout. That was what I thought, yeah.
Thank you, Hedwig. Father, any views on that?
I agree with Hedwig. And I think at the beginning, they were just tolerating each other's differences. And they were really not embracing each other's differences. The diversity only came, it started showing very well that they stopped tolerating when a father died. And it became, they were not going to tolerate anymore. Okay, but really the person that, to me, that took the scene for me was the imam at the end, when he just stood outside his mosque and completely helpless, right? Not being able to deal with the fact that there are a lot of things happening to his faith historically, as well as his lived experience. Okay, but yes, the family dynamics are certainly. There's a lot of tolerating in the family dynamics, okay? And the other sad thing for me of the family dynamic is when they separated their meal tables. And Bethany just had to walk away from that. So the family dynamics was overpowering. So the family dynamics was strong, and that came out very clearly in the end. And as Hedwig said, it showed that actually they just tolerated each other until that point.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I also feel the same way, and especially when we talk about how, I mean, to me, even my immediate response when I saw that was, oh, they're clearly just using the religion as an excuse to just sit apart. You know, it felt almost like it was a convenient way of explaining that I don't wish to be in the same on the same dining table as you. So that was quite interesting. Any views from our guests, our audience who just watched the film? And you'd like to unmute yourself and join in this discussion, or if not, you can also type into the chat box. But yeah, do encourage you to actually voice your views so that we can also make this discussion even richer. So any views from our audience regarding this?
I'd like to chime in here.
Thank you very much. Who's that speaking? If you don't mind introducing yourself very quickly.
I'm Shobi Pereira,
Hello, Shobi.
parishioner of St. Mary of the Angels. So my thoughts about the film also is that right from the very beginning, it's shot a lot in the shadows. It's underlit, and it continues that way. It weaves in light and darkness. And that's a reflection of life. And I think in some ways, intentionally done by the producer, by the filmmaker. And that's why I wrote, for me, the word was sad, because I think it intentionally reflects differences that we sometimes just cannot get over. Be it in a family, be it with religious divides. The last shot for me spoke volumes, but still said he goes out of frame. It is light, it is shelter he finds in being alone. And that to me was the overriding message throughout.
Thank you very much, Shobi. Yes, the sadness that you feel, I think, is definitely something that others also resonates with others, because if you see some of the comments the other people, some of our audience members have actually right to it, is they obviously talked about the loneliness and also how, I mean, obviously it's a messy situation, isn't it? And when we think about the division that comes out as a result of what we see on screen, probably will have some emotional response to that as well. So for those who did feel the same way, anybody else wish to add to this discussion in terms of what makes it sad? Of course, yes, Father.
With regards to the loneliness that Shobi mentioned, I think that for me was captured with that imam sitting outside the mosque or the church or the mosque, and not being able, the irony of religion, okay, we're supposed to make people feel at home, find a place, a peaceful place, but here we have this churchman or this mosque man rather. I resonate with that, but sometimes I feel like I sit outside the church too and completely disconnected from what's happening inside. So again, for me, religions do bring out a lot of ugly side too. And the movie is trying to be nice to religion, I felt. But at the same time, it was in a very subtle way trying to show the ugliness of religion, which I can resonate with.
Yeah, because I'd like to say that I really don't feel sad about the protagonist, because Bashnik, right? Yeah, I found that he had so many really positive qualities from the get-go, the innocence, how he played football with young boys. He has so many gifts, his carving and the goats and how he can disappear after prayers and so on. And even why he decided to peel the wall, he says that he has some kind of gift or talent. And then he showed to be devoted to his faith, devoted to his father. He tried to be the peacemaker. Initially, when the brother and sister argue, he's the one who, he was also the peacemaker between the mosque folks and those at the church. So to me, he in fact is a very positive figure. I wondered if they were, so I wonder whether at the end, when he takes, it shows that scene with him with the goats. I wonder whether that's telling us that he has decided something, and is he moving on? Is he ever going to come back? Who knows?
Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah, any other views? Do you want to join in to this discussion? I think Judy here mentioned about how obviously we talk about religious expectations, possibly contributing, I think, to this division, you know, and what we see here in terms of the sense of that loneliness as well. So this human nature versus, you know, religious expectations. Judy, if you don't mind, I mean, if you wish to, and if you don't mind, would you like to contribute more and explain a little bit more about how your response is with regard to this?
Hi.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I don't know what, I'm sorry, excuse my English, I'm Japanese, so.
No worries. Hi.
You know, I can't speak like Singaporean. You know, what struck me during this film was like Bosnick's conversation with Mullah, Imam. I know when he say, people love God dearly, but seems can't love one another.
Yes.
And Imam or Mullah, he told people like that. I think something like that, we had a conversation within the film. That struck me really, I mean, that tells everything. That's us. We love God dearly, but often something is prevent us to love one another. So I just really felt that part of, you know, conversation in this film.
Yeah, I agree. I think that was, like she said, the most powerful line, but there were several, you know, of them. I made some notes here, like when the father says, that's life with the families, he says, sooner or later, they all return home. So there was a message there. And then, you know, when the cracks show, the Besnik tells the mullah that the cracks show, or the fact that there's a Christian thing behind them, he says, it shows that Allah is merciful to all mankind. And then when he's outside the church, all these Christians come and say, God bless you, because they're so happy that he's done this. You know, so like that, there were several of these very strong one-liners, I think, yeah, throughout the film.
But the surprising thing for me in that is that the development of the relationship between Besnik and the restorer, the woman who came in to restore the artifact. That was pleasant. I mean, again, it made it look like Besnik was the one with the mental illness. But I think throughout the movie, it showed also that actually he was the most human and most the person who could love the most. Okay, and he did choose to love the lady without the scarf, without the headgear and all. And the other people have, you know, thought that she's really not Muslim. He chose to love his father. You know, he chose to love the Muslims as well as the Christians. You know, so he actually remained the stable one in a very messy world, I find. It was a very messy story, but he was a stable one in a messy world. Yeah, that's what hit me.
Thank you, Father.
Of him, you to her, he has come from a different time.
Yes, correct.
And I think that in the same way, I think when we talk about how it's not even, you know, when we talk about how he's the most stable character, and as being a protagonist as well, I think a big part is also, it's not in a way that it challenges what is already messy in the first place. But he comes from a place, what struck me was that he comes from a place of pure, really rather innocent, but also God-loving in a way, especially when, like exactly what Father mentioned about that scene, right? When the person who comes to conserve and restore the church, the mural, decides then he just asks his imam, what's wrong with I mean, why not? Why don't we ask the Catholics whether they want to come here and pray? And he asked that not in a challenge. I mean, it might come across potentially as being challenging, but actually it probably came more from a, I'm trying, it's like, it makes sense, why not? It is the loving thing to do, you know? And so that struck me as even how him as a very stable character comes from a place that is rather pure and innocent, which it speaks volumes if you think about, you know, what does love mean in terms of the definition across different faiths, right? Which is quite interesting. Anybody else wish to also take?
I want to ask the audience a question.
Please do.
I don't know the answer here, okay? But the scene after he climbs to get some kind of vegetation and makes this concoction, gives it to his father, and the father dies. Next scene, the father's in a coffin. So did he kill his father?
Quick views, come, anybody, you want to unmute yourself, share, or just type in there in the chat box, right? Yes, if you think he killed his father. No, if you think he didn't.
Because he follows up by going to the mullah to say, I have sinned.
Mm.
And the mullah says, no, you have not. But, you know, the next scene after that, drinking that thing, was the dead man, right?
Yep. Any responses from our audience?
Interesting
hi.
question.
Hi.
I'm
Sorry.
Priska. You know that scene that you mentioned, Hedwig? Because the father did try to say something to him, remember?
Yeah, from the coffin, right?
Yes. So I think so. It's probably him imagining. I mean, not imagining. It was his father maybe trying to tell him, no, you're not responsible. But I don't think that was what that killed the father. I mean,
I think he was made to believe that
yes, he was from his siblings, right? Because they just wanted to blame somebody. But I mean, they were so used to their kind of medication and remedy at that time. I mean, he was, it's very different from someone who was maybe more modern, the family from the city and all. They would take different kind of medication. But in the village, they have their own kind of medicine, I guess. But I don't know. Yeah.
But the guilt part of that, again, I think Heavy brought up an important point. How guilt is also seems to be a very overpowering emotion there. And I believe he was made to think, or rather the siblings kind of suggested it, that, asked him, what did you give him? And then he walked away. But then again, the bigger issue here is, this guilt that people carry, and he even by, when he pulled out the plaster and they found the Christian art, again, was he actually being led to believe by the Imam or the other Muslim friends that you did the wrong thing? Why did you do that? And so he had to, and then he goes to the priest, and the priest makes him feel like he's a bad thing for suggesting it. I can't do that, I can't do that, right? So this poor man is just trying to go around dealing with all his guilt and his fear, but, for me, his relationship with his father was in the end about that guilt.
Since we're talking about his father, I think this is quite interesting character that maybe we can also just spend a little bit of time to discuss. I mean, firstly, he was a former communist, right? And then, of course, his remarks are rather blunt in the way that he's addressing about the clear difference between the two faiths and that exists within the family, and how to him, actually, he probably doesn't really care. Right, isn't that? So what do you think his role is in all of this, and how do you feel about this character of the father to anybody who is any of the audience, or also to our panelists as well? I mean, any response regarding how you think about this role of the father, the character of the father?
So if I could say that one thing that struck out was that although he was communist and he had his very strong ways to talk about things, I found it interesting that he was also married to a Catholic. So, that was something that was quite interesting. And throughout the movie, his father seems to be the unifying force rather than somebody who's separating. And at the same time, although he was alive at the dining table, he's the one who said, okay, all the wine drinkers this side and, the other one this side, so you don't fight. So in a way, he also sort of gave them an idea that if you can't do things together, that do them together but separately. So to me, that when the two tables appeared, it didn't seem like very negative. It was okay, but it was like a natural way of doing things.
Thank you so much. Yes,
Father is a complex figure. What Shobi was trying to say about the light and so on. You're really struck by the first time you see the father, it's almost in the dark. There's only like a candle burning and he's coughing, and the Besnik comes to help him. So you get a sense that this person is important but complicated, and he seems so there's one element of when he sees his children and they all say how much they love him and they came because he was sick and all, he says that's not the only reason you came. So he appears to have that kind of wisdom, but then along the way you also learn that he did something and it appears to be bad to Besnik, to his love interest, whoever that was earlier. So he refused to allow them to get together or whatever, the persecuted girl, right? So yeah, and then the thing that was confusing for me about the father was he was so sick and dying, but he appeared to get pretty well and then get sick and pretty well. So that they used that in a strange kind of a way, I thought.
But there was I think the family brought him, his family being there, he's a man who loved his family, obviously. So his family being there, he got better again for a while. People sometimes do that, they live for a moment.
Yeah.
And what the tender moment for me was his moment with his granddaughter. Remember, he told her to remove her scarf with his long, beautiful hair and all. And I thought that was really, really very tender between the grandfather and the granddaughter. And
absolutely.
But did you see how unhappy her mother was?
Absolutely, but and so which is why it's tolerating, right? My father mentioned the word tolerating just now, because you could see the glare and everything, right, that she had at that moment, but she felt like she couldn't say anything or she didn't want to say it, so she walked away instead. And I thought, and I felt that scene was also very powerful to me because it almost felt like, firstly, it's quite ironic as how we've been talking about so far that it takes a communist father to actually be the one who is blind to how the love in the family should be way more than the fraction that is caused by religion. But more importantly, that when the scene was being shot of him and his granddaughter, it was shot from above, almost like a window view, right? It's not like something that's faced, but really shot from above, and then you see the mother walking away and things like that. To me, I felt that was quite interesting because it's almost like an omniscient kind of omnipresent person, right? Omnipresent person who is on top, looking at all of this and wondering what that looks like. And it's almost like through God's eyes, right? In terms of it all boils down to that family relationship, that relationship between the grandfather, the blood relation between the grandfather and the granddaughter. It's not so much so of the hijab or whatever that's in place, but rather that love, that tender moment, like what Father mentioned, right? That embodies what it means to be in this family, what that love represents. So I thought even that shot, the way that it was, the perspective in which he provided through the camera lens was also quite interesting. Yeah. Any other views regarding either the father, so far we've talked a little bit also about this divide and tolerance, the division that's caused by potentially religions, the two different religions within the family, the role of the father, which is a very complex character, is how we acknowledge that. Any other views that we have? I think that, so far it's been a bit heavy as well, right? I think it was quite interesting that some of you also do note right from the start when we talk about how your response is to this. You note some interesting ones that are less heavy or negative in a way. We talk about maybe this idea of a call, what it means to be called to do something, or even simple faith, right? Isn't it? So any contrasting views, I would say, in terms of how you felt about this movie. Any views from any of our audience members? No, okay, that's fine, no issue. Any other comments that's not related to this as well in terms of contrasting views that you would like to say? So far we have spent about 34 minutes so far. We started around 3 o'clock, so it's about 34 minutes. So we will be coming to a close soon, but just wondering whether anybody has any other views on the discussion so far that we have. We've spoken quite a lot about the family dynamics, how the religion played a part, where the play of the light and the darkness and the shadows, and how that was brought forth also, through the different scenes, whether in the church context or the mosque, and how then the liminal space between the two as well, when both the mosque and the church became also a space of worship, common space of worship. Any views, any other views that you would like to conclude in a way or to close this discussion?
I want to say that I couldn't help but notice, because obviously I see Hollywood movies more regularly than others, that this was so not a Hollywood movie. And one of the things about it, therefore, is that a lot of things go unsaid. So you don't, for example, it doesn't show you the mullah stopping him from peeling. I mean, why did he keep quiet and then let him do it? And then he gets so angry. How did the women from the Institute of Monuments learn about this? You know, and then there are scenes that there's just no dialogue, him chopping the wood, the clothesline coming down and so on. So much is not said. And I think it adds to the fact that the audience is free to make what they want of what this means, you know, what this adds to Besnick's life or life up there, you know?
Yeah, thank you for that.
Actually, there was in the movie, there was an explanation. The brother Alban had actually called the people from the Monument Center. And he's Christian now. He's adopted the Greek Orthodox religion, because another thing that I saw, I took note of, that he was kind of forced to become a Christian in Greece because of he needed to fit in. And that's the other overwhelming theme of religion. Do I embrace religion because it's something that I want, or it's something because it's part of the society, the culture, my family, and all that kind of stuff that make me adopt that I am now a Christian or a Muslim, etc. So it does say that his brother actually, the Imam was the one who said, why did you tell your brother to call the restaurant? But again, a question for maybe Hedwig. Did you see a whole, I don't know, I'm sorry, I forgot the name of the woman who came to restore the mural. Her place in that whole scene, I mean, she's this modern woman, okay? She didn't quite fit into the bigger landscape. But what do you think? Why do you think they tried to put her role there? That that relationship developed between, it was not even a sexual relationship, was it? It was more like two friends, just What do you think, Hedwig? What's her role there?
I think that she saw Besnick differently from everybody else. So they had put him, they saw him as just the goat herd. There's something's wrong with him in the head and so on. But here's a city person, someone who has studied monuments and religion and art and so on. And she could see such good things in him. So she saw him for being, someone who, the wall, he could make cheese, he could make all these carvings, and, he negotiated with the mullah, he negotiated with the priest, he kept her warm and all this kind of thing. And I think so, fresh pair of eyes, and she's saying that, he came from a different time. So she saw him different from his family. This is what I thought,
Yeah. So that's her role in the movie. She was saying so, yeah. Right. So it's really quite sad when she finally left. And the one person who actually saw him differently,
and who seem to share at least the same ideals or the way that they see certain things. This shared space, because we talk about loneliness being one of the key words that came up as well, right? I mean, he found solace in a way in that friendship that he had with her. One of the very, very nice moments as compared to all the conflict that surrounds him and the struggle that he has to deal with.
In her and the goats, he found solace in the goats as well.
Yeah, so
the goats, definitely, yes.
Whether we are using loneliness correctly, because I think there's an aloneness here, but I don't know that it's loneliness.
Good point.
Yes, definitely a good point, and for the audience to think about as we close this session as well. I think thank you so much for the word that you used as well. I mean, or rather the expression that you had, Hedwig, when you said about many things were unsaid, right? And that because it leaves not just opportunities for us to think about what might that mean, to provoke what we might think about it, but also when we talk about, even as a question to close this for everybody, is if they were all said and they were more open about the way that with the views that they had. Would that have helped healed or provided some comfort or bridge understanding between the different people within the family or even across religions? I think that's also perhaps a question for us to think about as we close this session. I'd like to thank both our panelists for being with us here today. Thank you for taking the time to join us. And also to our audience, I know that after the movie as well, then plus this post, it's been a while in terms of the duration. So thank you for staying with us, because I'm sure that you have gained a lot out of this discussion as well, just as much as I have. So thank you very much for that. Winifred, you would like to close off by saying?
Sure. Yes. Thank you, for your excellent moderation, Timothy, as well as, for Father Clifford and Hedwig in, joining in and sharing your honest views about the film. And that's one of the reasons why we chose this film. It is very different. It's certainly not Hollywood, precisely because it is not. Yeah. And it is a very quiet film. And, with all the noise and the mess that our lives are in, I think every now and then we could benefit from such a quiet film that makes us go inwards. Yeah. And that's why, praying with film requires us to have that space, in our head to reconnect with our faith. So thank you all very much for being here. So would you indulge us by, turning on your video? And, I hope never to do too many of these online screenings because I do want to go back to the cinema or to Kena to run these films and have real life physical discussions. But, we are very adaptable human beings, right? So we figure it out. So thank you all for fully participating. So this might be the first and only time, at least for this panel, to have this picture together. So if we can do that, and Ashley, our Zoom host, will take the picture for all of us.
Yes, I think the host has to turn on the video for us because she turned it off, isn't it? Because we can't turn it on.
No,
you can turn it on yourself. Yeah.
It says you cannot turn on your video because the host has stopped it.
Okay. Maybe the host can just do a mass
mass
to
turn
everyone.
on.
Maybe you can try and do that via the participants to invite to turn on or something.
Yeah, there's a couple.
Ask to start video. There we go.
Wow, very powerful.
Let's see. Ask to start video. Yeah,
I think we can do an ask to start video.
Okay.
Now we're all becoming Zoom experts.
Yeah, I think there's just a couple more that don't know why the video is not on, but shall we? What?
Yeah.
No, I can't turn it on still. I think there's quite a few, yeah.
It's okay, Prisca, the Holy Spirit in your screen.
Yeah. It's not me alone, there's so many people.
Okay. Let's just start. Okay.
Okay.
There you are, Prisca.
Yeah, thanks. And everybody else.
To join, don't be shy. Okay. Anyway, let's go. Ashley, you want to take?
Okay, couple more. Okay, yep. All right, everyone. 1, 2, 3. All right. One more.
Right. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful Sunday afternoon. See you all.
You too. Have a wonderful Sunday.
Yeah, there are 2 other films to watch. So, all right. See you. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Yes.